Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, remember to subscribe and to give this video a thumb up. At the end of 2019, I was pondering the idea to leave Switzerland and to move to Norway. It was for me a very hard decision because I think that Switzerland is an amazing country to live in. I think I am so lucky to have had the possibility to move here. It hasn't been easy at all. I had to work very hard to find a job and stay here in Switzerland and have my life here in Switzerland. But at the same time, Norway is a very good country too, which provides a good life to the people living there, a stable economy and a lot of possibilities. I started pondering this idea of moving to Norway because I visited Norway and I completely fell in love with that country as much as I felt in love with Switzerland 7 years ago. So for me it was very hard to understand which one was the right decision. I started researching a lot. I started researching on the internet, reading books, talking to people in order to understand which country was better, Switzerland or Norway. Let me tell you, at the end of the day, I understood that there is not a better country. Those two countries are very similar and the choice really depends on what is important for you at the moment. So my decision to move to Norway was not because I thought Norway was better than Switzerland, but because I made a list of pros of Switzerland and pros of Norway, and I understood that Norway could offer me what I really needed at this point in my life. That's why I don't want people to get upset because, oh, I wanted to move to Norway because Norway is better than Switzerland. Absolutely not. It's based on some really aspects of my life that I was looking into developing. That's why my choice was Norway. But I really hope that this list will help you understand that there is not a country which is better than any other countries. It really depends on what you're looking to achieve in your life. Another important premise is that Switzerland is divided into Italian-speaking part of Switzerland, French-speaking part and German-speaking part. And these three parts are very different. For example, salaries in the Italian part of Switzerland are lower than in the German part of Switzerland. So in order to better understand my comparison, I was comparing Basel, or at least the Zurich area, but more the Basel area of Switzerland, with Oslo, Norway, because Oslo was really the city I wanted to live in. This comparison is based on Basel in Switzerland and Oslo in Norway. So let's get started! The first pro of Switzerland is definitely that Switzerland has higher salaries than Norway. I researched this quite a lot. I spoke with a lot of people on their salaries. I was offered like the same exact job that I had in Switzerland. I was offered this job in Norway, so I could compare those salaries. But I'm really comparing the two same exact positions. I'm also comparing other salaries with friends that I was having in Norway. I was researching like a lot, extensively on the internet, and at the end of the day, salary in Switzerland are higher than salaries in Norway. Switzerland has higher living costs than Norway. Grocery shopping is higher in Switzerland. In Switzerland you have to pay health insurance monthly, while in Norway is free. But at the end of the day, I realized that what I could save in Switzerland after having paid all the expenses that I had was higher than what I could save in Norway. Even if the expenses are higher, even if you have to pay the insurance, the salaries are higher, so at the end your purchase power is higher in Switzerland rather than in Norway. One thing that I was kind of upset to understand, because I was looking for apartments in Oslo, I realized that the cost for a 2-room apartment that I have in Switzerland I pay 1,230 Swiss francs. I realized that with 1,200 Swiss francs I was not able to get a 2-room apartment in Oslo because the price was a lot higher. I was really looking into a 1-room apartment and I wouldn't end up paying 1,200 Swiss francs. So 2 rooms apartment are really 1,290, 1,300 on, like 1,300 Swiss francs, 1,500 Swiss francs, while in Switzerland with 1,200 Swiss francs, 1,300 maximum, you're able to get like a normal 2-room apartment, like not super fancy, not super new, but a normal 2-room apartment. In Oslo city especially, the prices for apartment is a little bit higher than in Basel. It's still a lot cheaper than in Zurich. Zurich, the prices for 2-room apartment are really like 1,500 and up. So the cost of an apartment in Norway is a little bit higher compared to Basel. The second pro for Switzerland was milder weather because Norway is a lot colder and a lot darker than Switzerland. In winter, the sun rises 1 hour later in Oslo and set 1.5 hours earlier rather than in Basel. It's darker for a longer amount of the day and a longer amount of the year. This affects the mood of people in Norway. They talk a lot about the winter depression in Norway because it's so much dark. Even in Oslo, which is in the south of Norway, it's still a lot darker than in the middle of Europe where Switzerland is. On one side, I really wanted to have like a proper white winter Christmas, but on the other end, Norway is really cold. Sometimes it's -20, -30 even in Oslo, as I heard. The weather is a little bit better in Switzerland. You still have snow, but you still have also like very hot summers for a longer amount of time rather than in Norway. The third pro of Switzerland is that there is better transportation system. This means that every company where I've worked for or every company where I've had a job interview, I was always able to reach the company by transportation means. In Oslo, 2 out of 3 were really in the middle of nowhere where there were no bus, no train, nothing. So I would have needed a car to go to work. In Switzerland, a lot of people go grocery shopping in Germany because it's cheaper and you can easily reach Germany with tram or train. In Norway, a lot of people go to Sweden to go grocery shopping because it's cheaper, but you really need a car to go there. So I think in Norway there are a lot more occasions in which you will need a car even to travel around the country. Sometimes it's like there are no proper connection to certain part of the countries because of course the country is different. There are a lot of fjords, there is a lot more nature than in Switzerland. In Switzerland it's a smaller country, so it's easily reachable with all kind of transportation means. The first pro of Norway is that family or the relationship with family is a lot more similar than the one we have in Italy. That was one of the things I was upset about when I arrived in Switzerland, because we know that Italians love their family, love their mamas. I really phone home almost every day. I think I go and visit them as often as I can. While when I arrived in Switzerland, I realized that the relationship with family is a little bit different. I've really had friends telling me, oh, I live in the same street of my mom and I visit her like once a month. Young people here move from home at a very young age because they have a very good salary from the beginning. So when they're 18, they can afford to go and live with their friends or to have like a really small apartment. While in Italy, we really can't. Like if you earn 800 euro in Italy, you're not able to afford an apartment by yourself. So we spend a lot more time with family, and even after, we still spend a lot more more time with family than Swiss people do. I realized that a lot of people rarely visit their parents, or they have to like make an appointment when they want to go and visit their parents. They need to call before and say, hey, are you home? Can I come? While in Italy it's normal that we just pass by. The relationship with family is a lot closer in Italy, and in Norway family is as important, I would say, as it is in Italy. Really, people tend to stay very close to family, not only during the holidays but throughout the whole year. Family is very important in Norway too. The second pro for Norway is that people are a lot friendlier, according to my experience, according to my opinion, rather than in Switzerland. If you talk to a Norwegian, they will say Norwegian people are very close, they don't like to talk with people they don't know. The same Swiss people will say, but according to my experience, Norwegians are a lot friendlier than Swiss people. It's very easy to speak with a Norwegian, like on the street, at the supermarket, like, oh, what do you read here? Well, Swiss people would not really do that. The same way you cannot talk to someone on the bus, but I think that according to my experience, like Norwegian are open to talk more with you even if they don't really know you. So on one side, I think like for my social life, Norway would have been better than Switzerland. The third pro of Norway, and actually the point that sold me on Norway, was the work-life balance. I think that the average working hour in Norway is around 40 hours per week, while in Switzerland I've always worked a lot more than that. In Norway, work-life balance is really, really, really important. People rarely do overtime. It can happen and either you get paid for it or you can take off, but if it happens too often, it means that you are not efficient at your work. So overtime is not seen well at all in Norway. It's like not common that you would have to do overtime, and they really value the fact that people need to have a life after work. In Switzerland, I've always worked overtime. I think 90% of the people I know work overtime. In Norway, you need to be efficient during your working hour. If you're doing overtime all the time, it's because there is something wrong, so you really need to understand what's wrong. While in Switzerland, it's really normal that you work overtime. The work-life balance, the importance of work-life balance, the importance of living a private life after work was really what sold me on Norway, because it's something that I really need at this point in my life. As you see, it's not really because Switzerland is better than Norway or Norway is better than Switzerland. It's because I wanted to have more balance in my life, and that's why I decided that for me Norway was the right choice. There are a lot more things to consider when deciding whether to move to Switzerland or to move to Norway. Things that, for example, for me were not very important. For example, if you want to find a job in Norway, you need to know the Norwegian language. It's very difficult for you to find a job in Norway if you don't know Norwegian. In Switzerland, there are a lot more international companies, so it's a lot easier to find a job if you know English only. In Switzerland, they have 4 national languages, and like the 3 main one are German, French and Italian. So if you already know one or two of these, you have good chances to find a job. Like if you are Italian and you go to the Italian part of Switzerland, it's very easy for you to find a job. For me, I knew English very well. I had to study German before getting a proper job, like a real job. I can safely say that there are a lot more international companies in Switzerland compared to Norway, where it is very important that you learn Norwegian when you're looking for a job. As said, this was really something that was not important for me. That was not really a factor on which my choice depended, but there are a lot more things that you need to consider if you are deciding whether to move to Norway or to Switzerland. As I said before, these points are based on my experience and my researching. I don't want to say that one country is better than the other. I think they're very similar. A lot of nature, people love to spend time in the nature. I'm doing this video because when I was researching on like the difference between Switzerland and Norway, I didn't really find a lot of information. I really had to dig deep, and I think that maybe it's not like it doesn't really happen often that Norwegian people move to Switzerland or that Swiss people move to Norway. I think that might be the case. So I hope that my hours and months of researching that I put in this video will be useful to you in case you're pondering in which country you want to live in. Let me know if you had the choice, if you would prefer to live in Norway or if you prefer to live in Switzerland. If you live either in Norway or in Switzerland, let me know what you like the most about these two countries. And as I said before, remember to subscribe and to give this video a thumb up. Thank you very much for watching and see you in my next video. Bye!